I knew from the start I had unfinished business.
Pop it! Twist it! Pull it! Bend it! Flip it!
Starlet Zhao had always wanted to be an entertainer. In college, he tried to pursue singing, but just wasn't capable enough, so he switched his major to acting. In his spare time, he'd post his drawings to DeviantArt as WafflesE42, as well as casually vlog on his YouTube channel. That was until one fateful Christmas party at a bar, where he met none other than Markiplier and learned that YouTube was more than just a hobby now. Then he'd find out that one of his childhood friends was Adam Dahlberg, aka Sky Does Minecraft. Zhao would abandon his vlogging channel and create Jinbop, named after his favorite BlazBlue character, Jin. He grinded hard, pumping out gaming videos almost daily, but ultimately failed to stick out in the highly saturated market. Luckily, an opportunity would come his way when Adam founded a new company, Sky Media. He needed new collaborators for this venture, and Jinbop was the perfect fit. Zhao began appearing in Sky's videos, and as a result, his own channel saw immense growth. However, he showed concerning behavior at the company. An editor recalled that he'd stay in the office late at night talking to fans, many of which were children. When he told management about this, they said to mind your own business and edit. Eventually, Jinbop would leave Sky Media in favor of an independent career, but he lacked the personality to sustain his channel alone. He was an industry plant through and through, and his viewership after leaving reflected that. Then in August of 2016, he abruptly stopped uploading, confusing the remainder of his small audience. Many chalked it up to just him getting bored of YouTube, but that just wasn't the case. He had been talking to a year-old fan artist while he was 23. The two had met on the now-defunct service Omegle, and in the months following became very close partners. The girl's parents started noticing questionable behavior from their daughter. Concerned, they began secretly recording calls between her and Jin, wherein he exhibited a horrendous demeanor, all while acknowledging her age. Zhao was making plans to meet up with this girl in person, but the parents refused to let that happen. So the FBI was contacted, and right as Jinbop was about to fly out, he was arrested. In custody, he blamed the victim for the relationship and made threats of ending it all. The court document leaked online, and YouTube news channels went right to reporting on it, only for these videos to be taken down as to not affect the trial's outcome. Sky's response was a simple wow, and everyone at the company was told not to speak of it. Later, he'd go on livestream and say that he wasn't that bad of a guy when he knew him.
I didn't dislike Jin when I knew him. It's not my fault or has anything to do with me what happened to him, so.
Needless to say, Sky Does Minecraft would turn out to be an unwell individual in his own right, but that's a different story. Starlet Zhao was sentenced to 7 years in prison, but he'd get out 1 year early for good behavior. Great legal system we got. He'd return to the internet as a furry under a new name. Most disturbing of all though, he and his victim are still together. Ryan Terry was raised by a single mother who dealt with many issues. At times, he'd have to hide her medication to prevent her from overdosing. She would hook up with men regularly who would not treat the family well at all. To cope with his situation, Ryan made videos on the Chaotic Monkey YouTube channel, with no real observable pattern. That was until he began a Let's Play of Amnesia: The Dark Descent, one of the first ever viral horror games. Chaotic Monkey, now going by the nickname Cryaotic, amassed a huge following thanks to the game's success, as well as his Jared Leto Joker-ass personality.
Hey guys, we're just gonna keep it real here. We're gonna keep it on the real level of real things. Like, Windows Media Player. That's on all Windows systems. I don't know what that has anything to do with Windows Media Player. Anyway,
He'd never show his face in videos, but he didn't need to. He had more than enough character to make up for it. Usually fans would just portray him as a masked figure in a green hoodie, which may or may not remind you of someone. Isn't it crazy how every YouTuber that uses this avatar gets accused? The other two are proven not guilty though, so only Cry's on the chopping block. Conveniently enough for Cry, the soon-to-be most subscribed channel was someone doing a very similar thing, PewDiePie. The two quickly became frequent collaborators, although their fans had beef for a short while over who did what first. Remember when copying was frowned upon on YouTube? Take me back. He'd also connect with an Amnesia mod maker named Russ Money, co-hosting weekly live streams with him. Before they knew it, it evolved into an entire group called the Late Night Crew. During these streams, viewers could call in at any time, which was how Cry met Cheyenne, a 16-year-old fan of his. Cry was 22 at the time, yet he still decided to pursue a relationship. Publicly. Also, his humor when it wasn't him prophetically shouting about heads in a toilet was very sexual. Exhibit A, his Tumblr.
So like you put the phone between your thighs and I realized so I was sitting here with one thing thrown in jail for many things but reading every word
and practically nobody questioned it back then. Yeah, maybe 2011 YouTube wasn't better. Later on, Cry and Cheyenne would break up for, at the time, undisclosed reasons. His mood began to deteriorate in the years following. He missed having a smaller audience he could more personally communicate with. Even as the Let's Play genre lost steam, he had no motivation to evolve his content. Worse still, his longtime collaborator, Russ Money, began to distance himself. While his remaining relationships were purely for business, on numerous occasions he'd open up about his mental health, and the community supported him, but he just couldn't get better. His very last stream would be in June of 2020, where he'd completely crash out over his position in life.
I'm just very open right now, and I don't fucking care anymore. You know, I'm at a point where there's nothing left to lose. I'm at my lowest point of my fucking life. I'm at 31 years old, okay? I'm at my...
Towards the end, he gives a cryptic apology to all of his friends.
Any friends right now of mine? Genuine friends of mine, or people that I've talked to, or even... No, it's no shame. Everyone knows it. I'm a fucking flirt and everything. Everyone I've flirted with, I'm sorry in the past. I feel bad about it because I was sensed that validation, and I regret it now, and I'm sorry. I'm fucking sorry.
But it would only take a couple days to find out what he was saying sorry for. A Twitter user named Lady Tia Beanie would detail her experience with an unnamed YouTuber. They became friends when she was and he was 22. Eventually, this evolved into romantic feelings, which the YouTuber did not dissuade despite her age. He would allude to messing around with his friend's girlfriend, but still told Beanie she'd be a good backup. Beanie would realize what he was doing to her once she got older, but still stuck around to help him because he was lonely. Eventually though, she would leave him, and instead of a goodbye, he told Beanie that her only use was... The ages and dates lined up with Cry, but that was the only clue. Cry would post one final video, which was an admission of guilt. He had cheated on Cheyenne with several people that he didn't realize were In the description, he clarified that he never got physical with any of them, it was purely online. Then he'd retract that apology, saying that he was in a manic state. While all of this was going on, 17 more victims had come out with their stories, and Beanie confirmed that yes, she was talking about Cryaotic. Russ Money would also reveal that Cry had gotten intimate with his girlfriend Red, all while he and Cheyenne were still together. Russ would break up with Red and developed feelings for a new girl named Angel. Angel did not reciprocate, but Cry hung out with her regularly, knowing full well that Russ had a crush on her. Cry would even bribe Russ into streaming with him by saying that Angel would show up at some point. Soon, Russ grew sick of his friend's manipulation and cut ties with him. Cheyenne and Snake, an ex-collaborator, would compile all of this information and send it to the feds, but unfortunately it went nowhere due to the statute of limitations expiring. Since then, Cryaotic has remained radio silent. Amos Yee Pong-song was an ordinary child growing up in Singapore. He was introduced to YouTube at a young age and found it and its creators fascinating. Using his parents' $90 camera, Amos would start making skits of his own, which were about on par with what you'd expect from a 12-year-old. But then his dad told him of a nearby short film competition, where the winner would get a $5,000 camcorder. Amos entered with a sketch called Jan, and competed against 200 professional adults. But against all odds, Amos managed to win first place and become a local sensation. I don't get the hype. Even for a 7th grader, this isn't anything mind-blowing. Jack Neo, one of Singapore's biggest directors, was in the audience and offered Amos a cameo in his upcoming film, We Not Naughty. Amos agreed, but while promoting the film, he criticized it for its poor editing and character development. He was a rebellious little shit indeed, and the years following would make that apparent. On Chinese New Year, he made a sketch mocking the tradition, stating it was a bad imitation of the Western New Year. This sparked quite a bit of outrage from the media, but Amos claimed it was purely a joke. Around this time, videos critiquing religion grew in popularity, thanks to channels like The Amazing Digital Atheist. Amos, having been raised by Catholic parents, gained a whole new perspective on the subject. He'd start dipping his toes into this genre, and he even got kicked out of his church for arguing with a priest. He'd also develop a hatred for the education system, dropping out mere weeks before he was set to graduate. But his ballsiest move came in March of 2015, when Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew passed away at 91. While the whole country was in mourning, Amos made a video celebrating his death, calling him a dictator and attacking Christianity. This sparked a monumental uproar. 32 police reports were made, including one from his own mother, who feared for her safety. Whereas in the US, you could dance on whatever grave you want, Singapore doesn't have such liberties. Their freedom of speech laws are much stricter. As such, Amos would be arrested for his video. One man even slapped him during the court hearings. He was that vilified. However, he did have one person on his side, a man named Vincent Law, who was ironically a Christian youth counselor. Law would pay for Amos's bail, but in return would be backstabbed, cause immediately after release, Amos claimed that Law had essayed him, which was completely nonsensical, since all of their interactions had been in public. Law threatened to sue for defamation if he didn't apologize, whereas Amos tried to justify his stance by saying that the word in his context meant annoy. At the end of the day, it was clear that he was just rage baiting, so Law decided that it wasn't worth it. The following year, Amos landed himself back in prison for comments criticizing Islam, which came with yet another physical confrontation. By the time he was out for this, he had turned 18, and in Singapore, all adults must serve in the military. Amos was not having it, so he fled to the US. Once he landed, he would be detained for 9 whole months before the court ruled that his home country wasn't safe. Thus, he was welcome to stay in America. At long last, Amos Yee had the freedom to say whatever he wanted, and while Singapore hated his guts, activists from other countries hailed him as a martyr. So what would he do with this newfound position? Go all in on defending PDF files. He'd upload several videos calling for laws to be abolished, comparing them to what he had faced overseas. What he once alleged to be a victim of was now perfectly okay in his eyes. Amos would debate other YouTubers on this, only to get completely slaughtered. 2 events he was invited to speak at, one of which being at Harvard, dropped him, but he only doubled down. Even when he got kicked out of his foster home by CPS and had all of his accounts banned, he stood by what he said. His image as a heroic free speech advocate was thrown out the window. Then in 2019, it was fully confirmed that yes, he had been acting on his beliefs. A 15-year-old would come out with evidence that he took advantage of her. Some incriminating screenshots from his Discord also leaked. Amos Yee was arrested for and sentenced to 6 years in jail. He'd be released on parole twice, but on both occasions, he violated his conditions. As I'm writing this, he's currently set to be deported back to Singapore, where he'll most likely be arrested for not enlisting in the army.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it.
The Leaping Lemur was a lolcow YouTuber who'd use a lemur PNG as an avatar. He'd ridicule TikTok degenerates like Nova Online for their poor health, hygiene, and sexual deviancy. Anyone with even surface level knowledge of lolcow culture knows what it's built off of. Lowlifes who feed their ego by mocking the only people more pathetic than them. And Lemur here was no exception. On Twitter, he flexed that he had a Discord girlfriend named Lily, who went by the handle Teeth Gums. Her profile gave off some pretty damning red flags, with many suspecting her of having BPD. But the Leaping Lemur did not care. He would constantly get into arguments to defend his almighty queen. However, this led to her getting doxxed, causing issues in the relationship, and not even a week after they met in person for the first time, they broke up. Lily would take to Kiwi Farms to share info on her ex, and as it would turn out, he was on par with the people he criticized, if not worse. Lemur, real name Gilberto Cardona III, was a very controlling boyfriend, always love-bombing and bribing Lily with gifts. He was not financially wise in the slightest. He had only $3K in his savings account, yet believed it was enough to make Lily quit her job and move in with him. Meanwhile, his disabled father was so poor that his card declined at Taco Bell, which made Gilberto throw a hissy fit. But that wasn't the worst part, cause when he and Lily met IRL, Gilberto got her drunk, even though she wasn't of drinking age, and he used this opportunity to take advantage of her. This was the straw that broke the camel's back for Lily. Gilbert desperately tried to win her back, but she was done. And apparently he was also into an anagram of insect and wanted her to roleplay as a stepsister. Ugh. He'd make 2 response videos in a last-ditch effort to save his channel, but come on, how does someone come back from this? Zabumafu is rolling in his grave right now. Lee Carson was a fan of the up-and-coming Minecraft YouTuber, Stampy Longhead. The two would chat on Twitter and play Minecraft together, quickly becoming close friends. Stampy would shout him out in his love garden, then invite him to star in episode 53. Before he knew it, Lee and his Banjo-Kazooie skin became a mainstay on the channel. Every episode, he'd make a grand entrance through a painting and give out cake. Stampy would even dedicate his 300k special solely to him. It really was hard to imagine what the Stampy Longhead channel would be like without him. Lee would start his own channel in 2014, seeing immediate success due to his established presence. Fans finally had a chance to hear what he sounded like, since he never talked in Stampy's videos.
Found sugarcane, which is a good start. Now, what else do we need? I've not played Minecraft in like a week, so I completely forget.
And they'd find out what he looked like when he appeared in one of Stampy's vlogs. Lee was starting to open himself up more, which should have been a sign of good things to come. But in doing so, he ended up revealing his dark side. In August of 2015, an article came out alleging that Lee Carson, under the pseudonym Michael Duffy, harassed 2 women on Facebook. The first was an 18-year-old girl who was asked for nudes by Lee when he was only We got a role reversal right here. She refused, but Lee continued to hound her for photos, making threats to stalk her and make her scream. Once the girl warned that she would call the police though, he stopped talking to her, only to turn his attention to a new victim, a 52-year-old family friend of Lee. This time, he'd take it a step further by stealing a pair of her underwear to have sex with, then returning it. Horrified, the woman sent the underwear in for DNA testing, where it was matched with Lee Carson. He was then arrested and sentenced to 3 years probation, community service, 3 years registered as an offender, and limited internet access. An L for Lee, indeed. Stampy and his friends would cut ties, but to avoid traumatizing his young fans, he came up with a clever workaround. Episode 339 would end with Lee Lee, played by a different person, giving a goodbye letter. It really was the best possible solution to this ordeal. He'd continue uploading like nothing happened, albeit with comments disabled. Due to no longer being in Stampy's videos, his viewership deteriorated, and in 2017 he'd go on hiatus. This led to rumors being spread that he was sent to jail, but they'd be disproven in May of 2018, when he returned with an update video. In it, Lee explains that he had been bettering himself as a person, how he was playing his character in his final episode, and that he chose to leave to protect Stampy's reputation. He didn't take accountability, but people were generally supportive of him. However, Stampy's wife Shayy would later come out debunking his claims. Even before the controversy, she was playing Lee, because he was too busy with school to keep up. Also, he wasn't as selfless as he made himself out to be. Lee denied what he did for the longest time, and it was Stampy who decided to remove his character. After this, Lee would delete his channel, effectively ending his story once and for all.
Just found out I'm chopped, and also Unk, so...
Thomas Willett was an elderly man who uploaded all kinds of videos. One day it'd be an oatmeal recipe, the other he'd read off funny place names, the other he'd show off green screen effects. Tom had lived quite an eventful life, which he'd often tell stories about. He was a country music artist, comedy writer, and an extra in hundreds of movies and shows. But what truly put him on the radar was How to Eat a Watermelon, where he shows you how to eat a cantaloupe. It was a strange but endearing video, resulting in it gaining millions of views. 4 years later, he'd make a sequel where he eats with his clone, which got even more attention. Featureman was one of the most wholesome channels on the site. He wasn't aggressively clickbaiting for the algorithm, he was just filming stuff for the sake of it. It didn't matter if it got views or not. He had long since retired and could have as much fun as he wanted, but it would all come crashing down in April of 2023, when a harrowing news article from the 70s was uncovered. Tom Willett and his band played music for children at a foster home, after which he offered to show a 15-year-old boy how to play guitar. The boy brought Tom into his room, and after a quick lesson, Tom did something unspeakable to him. Worse still, Willett became a volunteer worker, allowing him to check children in and out of the home. The victim would experience 2 more horrendous situations, before finally reporting him to the police. Local news would report on his sentencing, which at first was 3 life sentences, but thanks to a technicality, it was reduced to a measly 5 years in probation. His comments were immediately flooded with disgust, so Tom uploaded a video titled My Jailhouse Adventure, recommended for adults only, to try to course correct. In it, he frames the arrest as an injustice because he was homosexual. While yes, gays may not have been equally treated back then, not once does he mention what the crime was, since it makes him look horrible. The video was received very poorly, so after not even a full day, he deleted it alongside many other videos and his Flickr account. On that Flickr account was images of a shirtless man captioned, he was 18 at the time this was taken. Tom was subscribed to several channels run by kids, one of which he commented on every single video he uploaded. An old website he made had tons of sexual writings, which he conspicuously deleted once his channel took off. Then there was his IMDb, where his reviews focused more on the young male stars than the quality of the movies themselves. Clearly, he was not the wholesome grandpa everyone thought he was. Comments on his videos are now either disabled or heavily moderated. He's continued to upload, although recently he's been looking decrepit. Thanks for letting me know how I'll look when I turn 24 in February. He may very well have kicked the bucket by the time this goes up.
Because I am a Redditor too.
In 2006, the CarlH profile was created on the then new website Reddit. Starting out, he didn't post much, only sharing the occasional news article. But then in 2009, he decided to give to this growing community. Carl had been in love with coding since age 12. He was fascinated by how ones and zeros could just create stuff. So he began studying all kinds of languages to learn how it worked. Carl never got the chance to go to college, so knowing how expensive a degree could be, he created r/CarlH Programming, a subreddit where he'd teach people coding free of charge. He quickly gained a very positive reputation, both for making the subject easy to understand, as well as generally being a nice and friendly person. To broaden his reach, he created a site called Higher Computing for Everyone, which compiled all of his Reddit lessons. It was completely free of ads and subscriptions, instead relying on donations. But he got so many that he removed the option entirely. Anybody who interacted with him loved him. So much so that on July 26, 2012, he was awarded Redditor of the Day. Oh, that'll get you matches. That same year, he created a YouTube channel to visualize his lectures, netting over 30k subscribers. There really wasn't a bad thing you could say about Carl. Then in November 2013, he abruptly stopped posting to all of his accounts, puzzling many Redditors. So they did some digging and found an appalling news report. Carl Harold and his husband, Charles Donovan, had been arrested for abusing their 9-year-old son. The two would lock him in their basement, never even taking him to school, and film themselves performing unspeakable acts. On some occasions, they would even take him across state lines for other people's sick desires. This went on for 8 months, until they were finally caught in a ring investigation. What people thought was a selfless teacher sharing his passion with the world turned out to be an utterly vile monster. The two were indicted on 30 total counts and placed on $1 million bail, which thankfully nobody paid. But Carl would not live to see his punishment, because the following year he would take his own life. Charles did, however, and was sentenced to a total of 56 years in prison. It's nice to see an actually harsh sentence for once, even if the other half never got it. One day, the CarlH Reddit account would post out of nowhere, claiming to have faked his death and moved to Russia, though it turned out to just be a hacker. Shayy was a hardcore fan of the Undertale/Deltarune franchise. They'd start off making song covers, but would soon move over to speedrunning, holding several world records, and regularly attending Games Done Quick events. But challenge runs were what truly made them into a household name in the community, beginning with Undertale Speedrun, But I Have Dream Luck. By capitalizing on a trending subject, Shayy's views exploded, and soon that became the main focus. Their Twitch also proved to be successful, reaching 65,000 followers at its peak. And even with a copyrighted character as an avatar, Shayy still managed to sell merch. Things were going smooth as butter for them, until out of nowhere, Shayy privated their Twitter and left several discords they frequented. Fans grew concerned. What could have possibly sparked such drastic moves? Well, a couple days later, a moderator of theirs dropped a 262-page document where 21 victims would detail their experiences with Shayy. The first is Shayy's ex-partner, Star Smiley. Shayy was not a good partner, refusing to do chores, never paying bills despite being several times richer, and doing nothing but doom scrolling on social media. Star identified as asexual. While she was romantically involved, she didn't feel comfortable getting physical. One time while the two were cuddling, Shayy decided to test this by grabbing Star's crotch non-consensually. Once the relationship came to an end, Star had to leave the house in secret, fearing that Shayy would try to prevent her from leaving. This fear would be proven justified as Shayy tried to call her mom to get her to come back. Then several victims would share inappropriate conversations, consisting of messages like, "Your pronouns are mine." They also had an attraction to hair for some reason. Shayy would befriend and wait until they turned 18 to start getting sexual, though some were exposed to unsavory material beforehand on their server. Shayy also owned a private Twitter account that had lewd pictures of themselves. When asked to censor them, Shayy would claim that doing so would hurt its reach, even though the account was invite only. At GDQ events, they'd frequently cross boundaries, groping and even full-on essaying some victims. Sybil's GD, another Undertale YouTuber, would back up these these claims with her own experience. She and Shayy would get intimate in DMs, and from then on, sex was the only thing on Shay's mind. Anytime Sybils tried to talk about anything else, they would ignore her. Sybils' girlfriend, Ava, wanted to edit shorts for Shayy, and they would accept the offer. She was given a deadline of July 1st, but Shayy never gave her the scripts, audio, or guidance on what to do. For several weeks, Ava asked Shayy for these resources, but would only get an occasional vague response, so Sybils stepped in and offered to send to Shayy if they gave Ava what she wanted, and only then did Shayy finally do so. You cannot make this shit up. Shay's subscriber count would go from 473k to 360k in a matter of days. Several mod creators would remove references to them, as well as get Shay's videos about their mods taken down. As for Shay's response, they would admit to all of this in a DM and announce they were quitting the internet to get some help.
Not Jew, you're Jewish. Dude is Jewish. Jew.
Justin Carmichael was a game reviewer under the name JewWario. You know, you probably shouldn't. It's not a good... whatever. His flagship series was You Can Play This, where he'd review Japan-exclusive games that could be played without knowing the language. On his own, his channel pulled rather unimpressive numbers, but he'd get a boost thanks to that guy with the glasses, later renamed to Channel Awesome. This was a website created by the Nostalgia Critic for reviewers to host their videos. JewWario was one such figurehead, appearing in many of their projects and crossover movies. In 2013, though, he'd leave the site for unknown reasons, though Channel Awesome assured there was no bad blood. But the rest of the year would be difficult for Justin, experiencing all kinds of financial and mental struggles. While he seemed happy on the outside, deep down he was fighting a tough battle, and it would all come to a head at the beginning of 2014, when he tragically took his own life. This shook Channel Awesome. Nostalgia Critic and Angry Joe made tribute videos, describing Justin as an upbeat and warm individual, while other members put Wario hats in their backgrounds to honor his memory. He was remembered fondly for the kind and selfless persona he displayed, and it would stay that way for a good 4 years. But then in 2018, a document by former Channel Awesome employees would come out exposing the company. It detailed stories of harsh conditions, low pay, broken promises, and abuse from the CEO, Mike Mashad. One accuser would bring up how an unnamed producer groomed her, and when she brought it up to management, they did nothing for a whole year. 2 other victims reported similar behavior from the individual, though whether or not they told higher-ups is unknown. Channel Awesome would come out with their side of the story to try to ease the backlash. Among their rebuttals, they'd share screenshots proving that it only took 3 weeks to drop this deviant, and those weeks were not wasted. They did consult a lawyer. However, they failed to fully censor his name, which appeared to start with a J. The dates shown also coincided with JewWario's departure. It was Justin Carmichael. Case closed. Then, a second victim would take to Reddit saying that at MagFest, he essayed her while unconscious. She had denied his advances several times over, but after passing out drunk, Justin took advantage. Once she woke up, she ran to Channel Awesome's HR director and told her everything. Meanwhile, Justin had fled the scene, but he had left behind the Vulpix plushie he was carrying, thus incriminating him as the perpetrator. This man was pushing 40 carrying a Pokemon plushie. I mean, adults liking Pokemon is nothing new, but he would have been 25 when it came out. It was very clearly targeted towards kids back then. That'd be like me getting into, I don't know, fucking K-pop demon hunters right now. Several former employees would confirm this story to be true. In the wake of these revelations, the site's creators, many of which left due to the document, unlisted their tribute videos and got rid of their Wario hats. Some even went as far as to remake videos from the ground up that featured him. The positive legacy he left behind was completely undone. Now he is only remembered as a depraved wolf in sheep's clothing.
Alright, anime is official. officially canceled. All of it. I'm sorry, it just needs to be done.
Thaddeus McMichael created his YouTube channel back in 2008. It was his way of coping with depression, following him losing his job and his girlfriend cheating on him 6 times. A video of him recreating the Lucky Star opening would take off, after it was shared across 4chan's anime board. At the time, liking anime made you a nerdy weirdo, so like-minded dorks praised his unapologetic cringe. But then in March 2010, he dabbled in the hot button issue of expressing disdain for a potential bill banning it. Thad would argue that it falls under freedom of expression, that it should be allowed to exist because the demand is there, and state that he prefers drawn to real because real people weren't attractive to him. A disturbing amount of people would agree with this video. Later on, Thad would discover the anime School Days and fall deeply in love with a character named Kotanoa Katsura. He'd post himself cuddling with a picture of her, pretend to be her having conversations with himself, throw her a birthday party, then have her throw him a birthday party, and create a sex tape with a body pillow of her. His undying love for this fictional character was his claim to fame, or rather, infamy. Was he genuine, or was he trolling? Nobody knew for certain. Thad started becoming very sexual, to the point of planning out what he was going to goon to in advance. He tried to upload adult toy reviews to YouTube, but he obviously couldn't show them in action, so he'd have to post them on other sites. But this was only the beginning, cause he'd start openly admitting on profiles with his real name that he loved like, really loved it. And when he was inevitably called out for this disgusting behavior, he'd only double down. Then he'd post instructions on how to obtain illegal material. It was more than clear by this point that Thaddeus was dangerous, so the FBI came to his house to question him. He'd insist that it was all just jokes, but was still asked to hand over his devices. Of these was an 8GB flash drive with a folder titled "Don't Click." Aw, shit. Ugh.
Dispatch, it told me not to click, so I can't look at it. Over.
Alright, buddy, you're free to go. Over 300 images and videos of were found, including custom t-shirt designs featuring it. I sincerely hope he wasn't planning on actually wearing that in public. He would be arrested and sent to jail from July 2013 to October 2018. Apparently, he had the time of his life in prison, getting and giving head to hundreds of guys. He even expressed a desire to go back, since once he got out, he had nothing other than limited internet access. Thad would start posting on 4chan revealing that he got a job at Target and became a Trump supporter. Yeah, that checks out. For a short while, he dated a drug addict named Breadstick Chan, but once they broke up, it was back to old reliable. In 2021, he regained access to his YouTube channel and started uploading rant videos again. It was jarring for him to see how much society changed while he was gone. Now anime is mainstream, the internet is corporatized, and the world is way more politically divided. Some commenters have pointed out how he's basically a time traveler from early YouTube, but the real question is he still a predator? Well, his posts tab is very concerning, being filled with many references to cheese pizza and notorious PDF files. There's also been 2 rant videos in particular that are sussy. One was about the design of this One Piece character, saying that her age didn't matter, and the other was him sympathizing with EDP. Couple that to him wanting to return to prison, and yeah, don't let him near a school. Oh boy, we've reached the final predator of the video. I genuinely do not know how to even describe this guy. I mean, in terms of what he did, I don't think I'd consider him the worst per se, but out of everyone that I've covered, hell, out of everyone on Earth, he is the furthest from resembling a human being. If you told me he was from a different dimension, I'd believe you. Let's just get this over with. Please give a round of... No. He does not deserve an applause.
It's called clopping, Dad. It's something every brony does, okay?
Herbert Kenneth Huachuca was born in Peru in 2005. At a young age, he and his family would migrate to the US, settling in Clifton, New Jersey. Herbert was incredibly gifted in school. He read 150 hours worth of books and dominated the math league, all while participating in the track and field team. To say Herbert had potential would be an understatement, but then he stumbled upon the internet. He'd enter the My Little Pony fandom, creating an OC named Dansburst, though I use that term very loosely, cause it's an already existing character with literally nothing changed apart from the name. It's fine though, we all did dumb stuff like that. But you know what wasn't fine? Him meeting a man named Michael. Michael was 12 years his senior, and began dating Herbert presumably when he was still a minor. I'll have this clip of them fighting over a Snickers bar play out.
Michael, you took my Snickers bar. You think I didn't see you think I don't see the fucking shit you do every day after Halloween?
Your Snickers bar? Okay, what Snickers bar? What are you talking about?
You took it, Michael. You took my nerds too. You think I don't see the shit that you get up into every day?
Okay, I didn't. Okay, fine. I took your fucking Halloween candy. So what? Well, I took your Halloween candy. So what? I took your Halloween candy.
You don't know how hard I actually worked for that, Michael? You never work. You're on disability. You work 2 days.
I work at. What are you talking about? I worked at Walmart. I took a fucking.
And I deserve my Halloween candy because I'm a child.
Okay, so
You're
what?
8 years
I have
old,
given
Michael.
you. I have given you this beautiful house and everything, and you just so disrespectful to me, and you just say, "Oh, I deserve it."
Hey, that you are. This is why I'm never gonna be with you again. I'm gonna break up with you, and you're never gonna see me again. I'm gonna kill myself, Michael, and you will be the one. You will pay. Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Yeah,
fuck you! I'm gonna fucking hate you no matter what, you piece of fucking.
This is not looking good. Well, hopefully his parents will cut off his internet before it's too late. Like Bob Chandler, the father of Chris Chan, the creator of Sonic Chew. Oh no, don't tell me. Oh no, oh no, oh no. No, 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 no!
You think you're the most progressive person. Your advocates really most progressive policies in prison system. They go like, what happens when you bring up they go like, no, peace, death penalty, death penalty, fruitless, senseless violence, police brutality, peace, yeah, you call yourself leftist and you support this? What the hell are they talking about?
So what was Sonic Chew's fate for Dansburst? Him becoming a hardcore defender of the worst stuff imaginable. His first venture would be a video defending Sawtooth Waves, a brony that was exposed for gaming. It consisted of him saying there was nothing wrong with being a PDF file and that the victim was an attention seeker. This video was so bad that Sawtooth, the very predator that he was sticking up for, called it disgusting and asked for it to be removed. But it only got worse from here. He'd follow it up with a 25-minute video justifying sex with animals, complete with My Little Pony NSFW as the thumbnail. It should come as no surprise that the video got slammed. Although whoever these 17 people are, they better be on a watch list. Dan would debate a YouTuber named Hunter Avalone on and have all of his arguments destroyed with ease. Hunter chose to keep him anonymous, but Dan immediately jumped into the comments and exposed himself. You'd think someone obsessed with ponies wouldn't want them to suffer, but here we are. Actually, obsessed is an understatement, because he flat out believes he is a horse. It's his lifelong dream to visit Equestria because, oh my god, it doesn't have the draconian laws in this dimension's human world. He refers to his feet and hands as hooves, calls men stallions and women mares, and calls children foals. To further immerse himself in the horse life, he joined Ponytown, a fan-made My Little Pony MMO, but he'd end up getting banned for trying to make platonic friends with foals, on top of being homophobic and transphobic. He's got a bit of chud in him, it seems, but he wasn't always like this. Dan used to be quite a progressive person, having written a fanfiction for Democratic Representative AOC. Also, his ex-partner used the handle Furry Gamers Against Trump. Now that's activism. But the left didn't approve of his philia and pedophilia stances, so he shifted gears. After being embarrassed by Hunter Avalone, Dansburst would set his sights on a new target, Kiwi Farms. A friend of his named Foster Yu received his own thread after arguing that group was ethical. Dansburst came to this thread to support Foster, as well as defend Shadman. This instantly resulted in both a ban and a threat of his own, which he didn't take too kindly to. Dan would challenge the Kiwis to a debate in his censorship-free Discord called... and it had messages like this. Two brave souls would accept this offer. The first was a YouTuber named TheOpBlock, who tore into Dan so hard that he brought his mother on to prove he wasn't a diddler.
Mom, Mom, I just need you to confirm for me.
Please.
Everyone's asking that there are no mics on the line. I do not have anyone coming over for a play date. No.
Timothy, stop.
Just please confirm, yes or no.
No.
There is
You have nobody coming for a play date. Why would you have
No.
Why is your mom having to confirm this?
The second would be with a guy impersonating Null, the owner of Kiwi Farms. Dan would bring in Foster Yu to help, but even with a one-man advantage,
It's so simple to understand that even black people can do it in an inner city. And you're saying that black adults are...
he still couldn't win. No matter how many arguments he lost though, Dansburst Studios refused to give up. That was until his docs was found, and it all started with a single comment. Dan claimed to be dating a girl named Emu Fuso, who was the co-host of a podcast named Gooning with Gary. A Farms user named Taliesin just so happened to go to the same college as her, so he DM'd her for info on Dan, where she revealed that no, they weren't dating, she was just friends with him out of pity. Then she provided a picture he sent of him next to a horse. It's like poetry, it rhymes. Through this image, Kiwis were able to find all of his info, leading him to erase his entire online presence. But not before one final video where his mother finally cuts his internet down.
Don't do this. I don't know why you're doing this.
I'm doing this because my mother is in the room with me right now, and she's not letting me film my video, and she's not supporting me. And
I thought you went to the basement.
I went to the basement, and then my mom came down with me to the basement because she doesn't want me to be famous on YouTube. She wants me to have a job, and I don't want to have a job. I want to be a NEET. Mom, I want to be a NEET, Mom. I'm coming out as a NEET, not employed in education or training, Mom.
Dude,
who invited this cracker?
Mom! Don't you understand me, Mom? I'm just trying to be myself. Yeah, no! Ah! Stop hitting me! Ah! They're not gonna catch me! Mom! Not you, Dad! Not you here, Dad! They're not gonna catch me! Get away from me! Get away! Mom! Get away from me! Mom! Get away from me, Mom! Fuck you, Mom! I'm not a drugs, Mom! It's not true! God, stop touching me, Mom! Mom! Stop touching my computer! Mom! Stop it, Mom! Get away from me, Mom! Get away from me, Mom! I don't want you anymore, Mom! Get out of my room!
And that is where the Dansburst saga ends. Have a good 2026.